Hello, dear friends. Today I'm going to continue with our discussion from our previous video when I was talking about why I love using essential oils for hormone balance. In case you missed it, I will do a little quick summary, and of course, there will be a link to that video as well as all the resources and references that I talk about in this video in the resource section at the end of this post. What I started off with in the previous video was discussing how essential oils actually support hormones in a holistic way. They have multiple actions and they impact both our physiology and our cellular function. So, what essential oils will do is rather than directly causing our hormones to shift because they are, say, estrogenic, they can actually help balance out the factors that cause our hormones to be imbalanced in the first place. So, for example, they can help us to modulate our stress response, even impact our vagus nerve tone, which is our rest and digest part of our nervous system. They can help with mood issues. And we know that our neurotransmitters are related to our hormones. They can also help people sleep better, which is important because sleep is associated with better hormone balance. And there is an intricate relationship between melatonin, the sleep hormone, and cortisol, the stress hormone. Essential oils can also influence biochemical pathways. And what this does is it actually improves cellular responses to hormone signals. Because when our cells are inflamed or we're inflamed, that means that the body is less receptive to hormonal balance. It's trying to fight off something in our system. Another thing that I just kind of already touched upon, and I also just want to mention again here, is that essential oils have been deemed to be estrogenic by some experts or by some people who have written blogs about essential oils. And there's been a lot of confusion around that. But based on the actual chemical structure of essential oils, they're not steroid structures, and they don't tend to have that action in the body that we know so far from research, at least the most common oils that are available on the market. So now that we have an idea of why essential oils are so incredible for hormonal health, I wanted to go over four of the most recommended essential oils that I use in my practice to help the women in my practice actually balance their hormones. And these are rose geranium, clary sage, lavender, and neroli. I also want to discuss a little bit about how I suggest using these essential oils so that you all have an idea. But as always, check with your doctor before you make any changes in your healthcare regime, just to make sure that you're getting the optimal results and nothing's interacting or interfering what could be the best results for you. I also want to point out that there are two additional resources in the resource section for this video, and they're available for about another week or so. I opened up an article on rose geranium and clary sage, which has more details and research links. And those are usually only available to my community member subscribers that have access to my essential oil database, which contains over 50 single essential oils and over 32 health topics with essential oils related to them. So if you're curious about that and maybe thinking about making an investment in your learning, because it also comes with an essential oil course, you can check out those articles as a little sneak preview. Okay, so all of that being said for the introduction, let's get started into these four essential oils that I love and that I've seen some results in the women that I work with in my practice. The first one is rose geranium oil. Now, this essential oil is actually known as a harmonizer. It's one of the oils that a lot of clinical aromatherapists will use in their blends for women's health. It's calming, it's soothing, it's an uplifting floral oil. Aromatically, it can help to boost confidence and make one feel more feminine. The biological effects of rose geranium is also impressive as far as its effect on impacting women's hormones safely. There was actually a study that was done in a very critical period of a woman's life, and this was during pregnancy. And the study consisted of 100 nulliparous women, which is first-time birth mothers, and it was took place in Iran. And the researchers wanted to determine if geranium essential oil at a 2% dilution, because we want to make sure that it's very diluted for mothers to be, if that compared to a placebo would reduce anxiety of the first phase of labor. And they also measured different physiological functions such as blood pressure, respiratory rate, pulse rate. And they also did a questionnaire to see how the mood shifted. And what they concluded was that the mean anxiety score did significantly decrease after inhalation. And there was also a significant decrease in diastolic blood pressure. So it showed that the body also was relaxing. And they concluded that the aroma of the essential oil can effectively reduce anxiety during labor and can be recommended as a non-invasive anti-anxiety solution during childbirth. Now, this is an important finding for a couple of reasons, because when we relieve stress and our body is calmer, it actually helps not just the mood, but also our hormones, because we know how stress impacts hormone health. And it will also impact the biological outcomes and processes of the fetus. And we know that essential oils, instead of maybe some more stronger drugs, have less side effects. So that could be a good thing starting off at birth to use for hormone health. Another small study actually demonstrated the hormone balancing impact of clary sage and 9 other oils. These included frankincense, geranium, lavender, jasmine, neroli, rose, ylang-ylang orange, and Roman chamomile. And they actually measured salivary estrogen levels. And they reported that rose geranium was one of the oils, along with rose oil, that actually increased salivary estrogen concentration compared to controls. Now, this was a very small trial, and I also want to point out it didn't have estrogenic effects, but the result of using rose geranium and rose actually helped to raise estrogen levels. So it was likely related to that these levels needed to be raised when the stress was released, and these 2 oils were effective for that. Now, another study further down the lifespan with post-menopausal women and the effectiveness of rose geranium is also something to mention here. It actually analyzed rose geranium's mood effects in 120 postmenopausal women, and they compared massage alone to massage with the essential oil. And it was, again, a 2% rose geranium dilution. So the dilutions are pretty low here. A little drop really does do you. The results demonstrated that both massage and the aromatherapy massage did reduce depression, but the aromatherapy helped even more in reducing the depression. Now, there are also several studies of rose geranium being used at other stages of womanhood, including during the menstrual cycle. There's actually a patented product that contains it. And when you patent a product, you have to have all of the different references and studies for why you're patenting the product. And it's being used for menstrual cramping and other hormonal symptoms. That's rose geranium. Think of it as a harmonizer. Think of it as uplifting. Think of it as helping with stress and being helpful with different phases of our hormonal cycles. The second oil that I recommend the most is clary sage oil, and this has several studies on supporting women in various stages of their hormonal cycle as well: pregnancy, perimenopause, and menopause. If we look at menopausal study, there was a study with 22 women in their 50s, and this is probably one I quote the most, but it had interesting effects with just inhalation of clary sage, decreasing cortisol, the stress hormone, increasing serotonin, and elevating mood. So we see this impact on the stress hormone as well as on the neurotransmitter serotonin, which can impact estrogen levels indirectly because there's a relationship between serotonin and estrogen. There was also another study with 11 pregnant women that did inhale clary sage oil, and oftentimes it said not to use clary sage oil in pregnancy, but this study did, and it actually modulated oxytocin. And oxytocin is a hormone, that bonding hormone. And they also found a decrease in cortisol, the stress hormone cortisol, with clary sage in these pregnant women. So that is another oil that I use. So we think about clary sage for helping with its mood effects, especially if someone is more low mood, and also in decreasing stress. If we think about lavender oil, that's probably one of the most universal oils. And I use this oil a lot with almost everyone in my practice because it has so much evidence, probably one of the most evidence essential oil for relieving anxiety and stress. There's actually a patented medication in Germany called Selexin that is in specific ratios of linalool and linalool acetate, the two major components in lavender for relieving anxiety. And they've done studies of lavender against anti-anxiety medications and against placebo, and it's been found effective, or the Selexin. So again, we think of lavender as relieving anxiety, for helping with sleep, for lowering cortisol, and for activating the vagus nerve, which can help us with that parasympathetic state of rest and digest and help us just calm down. And then the last oil is neroli, which is one of the more expensive oils, but it's also great for hormones. It's really something that I find can be very beneficial for someone who also is struggling with, say, self-esteem or anxiety. There was a randomized trial of 63 healthy postmenopausal women, and they reported that the essential oil of neroli had positive effects on various menopausal symptoms and stress, and impacting estrogen levels favorably, again, indirectly. Okay, so we think of neroli probably more for menopausal symptoms is when I would most use it. And when we talk about, these are single oils, a lot of times blends can be very powerful because you're taking essential oils and synergizing them together. I don't blend them. I'm not a clinical aromatherapist, at least not yet, but I've used essential oils for 21 years or more, actually more, oh my gosh, in my practice, as well as with different clients. And uh, I usually use pre-blended essential oils, and I find that those can be effective because they hit more of those chemical receptors. Now, one of the studies that I found with 15 postmenopausal women showed how salivary oxytocin concentrations increased significantly with exposure to lavender, neroli, jasmine, Roman chamomile, clary sage, and Indian sandalwood. So some of the main ones we went over today. Now, if we talk about application of hormone oils, I often suggest to my clients to alternate about 2 or 3 of the essential oils that of my top 4. Sometimes I add in a specialized one if they need it, or a blend, a specific blend of an essential oil. I like to have that. Maybe I will do another video blog on that. It helps the HPA access from the adrenals to the pituitary. So I often combine that with these single oils. But what I will have them do is in the morning, usually I'll have them use geranium. It's uplifting. It's, very kind of energizing in its smell. And then at nighttime, we do clary sage because the serotonin is a precursor to melatonin, so it can help somebody sleep a little bit better. And then, of course, adding lavender and neroli may be diffusing that, especially if the neroli, if someone's having menopausal symptoms at night, can be helpful.